Hanging out with celebrities, or face planting in front of the castle, or maybe eating with dinosaurs on your wedding night. I've always said every person's gonna experience Disney World differently, but you guys don't fool around with your shocking Disney World stories. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. We went to our social medias once again to ask you what the most shocking thing you've ever done in Disney World is. We received a ton of answers, some for which y'all got some explaining to do, but I grabbed a handful of some of my favorites so we can all take a walk down memory lane together. Now keep in mind that some of these need a don't try this at home disclaimer, although they make for some funny stories, or in some cases kind of traumatic ones, if you need to consider them as cautionary tales so that you can stay safe and sound during your upcoming trip. And don't worry, we'll toss in a few tips along the way. So there are some Disney World shows that allow you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the unfolding story, like Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Disney's Hollywood Studios or the American Adventure in Epcot. But a lot of shows around the parks also require audience participation in order to pull them off. You can ask your favorite far-out sea turtle a question or two over at Turtle Talk with Crush in Epcot, or you can learn how to sketch a Disney character at the Animation Experience in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Maybe you want to master how to pull off some wild stunts at the Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular in Disney's Hollywood Studios. But the audience interactive show you had the most stories about takes place in the Tomorrowland section of Magic Kingdom, Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. So Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor is a comedy improv show that uses audience members to help set up the punchline. Some may think it's cheesy, but others come away from the show with rather hilarious memories after being called out on the spot. Michael H. said, "I got picked to talk to a monster at the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor, and I got a little too excited. One of the monsters asked me how long my family had been in Florida. Without thinking, my mind and mouth blurted out February. We had been in Florida for a week. It was June." And that's live comedy for you folks. This show is definitely one where you might wind up being the brunt of the joke. Chris D said, "My brother-in-law fell asleep during Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. The monsters had tons of fun making fun of him. The place was dying laughing." Well, at least Chris's brother-in-law got to catch up on those Z's. Not everyone will be picked to be part of this show, but you can improve your chances of being featured by submitting a cheesy or punny joke to the show beforehand. While you're waiting in line, several overhead screens will give you the number and code word you need to text along with your brilliant jokes that you'd like featured during the show. Again, this doesn't guarantee your joke will always be read during the performance, but it's exciting when your joke is recognized by the monsters for its highbrow humor. So what are the chances that of all the places in the world and all the people who visit Disney World every year, you'd end up bumping into the people you actually know? Pretty likely, it turns out. Lauren L. told us about a scary experience that turned into a funny memory, thank goodness. "My grandmother choked on a chip near the Mexico Pavilion on a very crowded day. She couldn't get it unclogged and she started to panic. I screamed out, 'Help, please help!' Then I heard, 'Lauren, is that you?' Someone from our hometown who I went to high school with was walking nearby with his wife and heard me. He came to our rescue. Grandma was okay and we continued our day like normal, but now we laugh about it. It was one of the busiest times of the year, yet I still ran into people I knew." Shawnella G. also experienced a rather unexpected reunion. "The most shocked I've ever been at Disney World was when I ran into old friends in the bathroom at Animal Kingdom just outside Kilimanjaro Safaris in 2019. The last time we had seen each other was climbing the actual Mount Kilimanjaro in 2007. I screamed, they screamed, and then we went and had ice cream." It really is a small world after all, and it becomes even smaller when you start to learn just how many of our Disney World vacations overlap with others, which is why finding reservations for restaurants and hotels and park tickets can end up being a pain in the you-know-where. So if you need help navigating Disney World's busiest park days, we've got videos about what I wish I'd known before going to Disney World in these crowds, which focuses a lot on Disney World's peak seasons like spring break and how to navigate around the sea of people. And who knows, maybe you'll wind up bumping into someone you know too. So getting lost in Disney World is no laughing matter unless you're getting lost on purpose. Stephanie W. said, "I lost my husband in Epcot. Authorities had to put out an APB alert for him. We found him 4 hours later. He'd gone back to our hotel room." Okay, fair. If you want to go back and take a nap away from your group, cool. But you got to give everyone a heads up. Otherwise, your group might wind up spending their whole park day trying to track you down. And then there are the people who accidentally get separated and can't find each other simply because of the sheer size of these parks. People magazine magazine covered a story on their website back in 2019 that followed a woman named Brittany Blake, who posted on a Disney Facebook group after losing her boyfriend in Epcot, asking if anyone had seen him. Her post wound up getting over 1,300 comments and nearly 700 reactions in the first 2 hours. By the end of the day, she gave everyone an update saying she'd finally found him on the Frozen Ever After ride. Though Brittany received a lot of quirky responses throughout the day from the Facebook group, including created hashtags like FindBrittanyBF, she also received some solid advice for the next time around. A woman wrote, "This is why we always have a designated meeting place if we get split up and can't reach each other. So take that advice to heart. It's so easy to get separated in these places when the crowds are so big and there's so much to do. So it's a great idea to sit down with your group before your vacation and decide on where to reconvene, just in case anyone gets pulled away from the pack. If you have younger kids in your group, make sure the meeting place is something easy to track down, like Cinderella Castle in Magic Kingdom or Spaceship Earth in Epcot, something big that they can use as a Northern Star when they're not familiar with the layout of the park. Also, please let them know that if they do feel lost or confused or they can't find you, then they should look for a cast member with that oval name tag. Those cast members, they're very versed in what to do when they find a lost kiddo and need to help them find the people they came with." A lot of you are tricksters, and lots of you like to pull off quite the jump scares on your Disney World vacations. Michelle Yu's Tower of Terror story over in Disney's Hollywood Studios is priceless. Several years ago, my preteen daughter and I were in line at Tower of Terror. There was a group of 3 young men in front of us. We got to chatting with them and learned it was their first time to ride Tower of Terror. We talked to them all the way up to the ride because they were fun to talk to, and by a stroke of luck, we ended up sitting behind them on the ride. I told my daughter that when the ride went dark for the first time, when it's moving slowly on the track through the hotel, I'd squeeze her hand. At that moment, we would grab the guy's shoulders and scream. The moment came, the ride was quiet and went dark. In unison, we grabbed their shoulders and screamed. They screamed so loud, it was hilarious. They thought it was hysterical and told us afterwards it was their favorite part of the ride. We saw them a couple of times throughout the park the rest of the day, and each time they passed us, they high-fived us and laughed. Now, this is literally so funny, but quick reminder, not everyone may be cool with the whole scared, silly stuff. So read the room and know your audience. Spooks in Tower of Terror? Good fun. Trying to pull off this same stunt in It's a Small World? Not so much. Also, if you're ever behind me at the Haunted Mansion and the lights go out, do not scare me. I will freak out. Okay, Andre T decided to surprise their kiddos, but it quickly turned into a cautionary tale. In the Tom Sawyer's Island caves in Magic Kingdom, I got the brilliant idea that I would run ahead of my kids and hide behind some stalagmites to jump out and scare them. So I ran ahead through the dark cave, just giggling hysterically, when all of a sudden, wham! I ran head first into a stalactite, got knocked backwards, flat on my back. I was still lying there when the kids got there, everything was spinning, and I had a headache the entire rest of the day. Yikes. I'm super glad you're okay, Andre, but this is super important for you guys to remember. Outside of a Run Disney race, sprinting through the parks isn't allowed for this reason. Even if you're trying to get to a reservation or ride or jump scare in a hurry, you never know what kind of sidewalk might try to trip you up or what overhead cave rock might try to whack you across the forehead. Speaking of unexpected spills, let's move to our next stories. Disney World's fun and games until someone accidentally loses their balance. Shannon Kay said, "My mom and mother-in-law both tipped their ECV scooters at Disney. My mom didn't see one of the curbs at Magic Kingdom. It was very dark and she tipped the scooter on its side with her in it. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, fell asleep and ran into a large flower pot in Disney Springs, tipping the scooter on its side with her in it. It wasn't funny at the time, but we definitely laugh about it now." Also, she says, "I promise no alcohol was involved." It's super nifty to be able to rent ECVs at Disney World, but they do take some getting used to, especially if it's your first time using one. And even if it isn't your first time using one, Disney ECVs may be completely different from what you got back home. So if you plan on navigating around Disney World via ECV or scooter, practice beforehand at another rental location that you might have in your hometown, like your local mall or grocery store or pharmacy. The more familiar you can get with the ECV controls, the better. Also, remember to take the key out of the ignition each time you stop. This will help keep your ECV battery charged, and it'll help keep you from being launched out of your seat in case someone accidentally steps on the gas. But sometimes unexpected spills can be triggered by pure exhaustion and dehydration. 5K said, "My hubby collapsed in front of the castle in the middle of Magic Kingdom's old Happily Ever After fireworks show. He was taken to the first aid room, then taken by an ambulance to the nearest hospital. He's okay now, but one thing's for sure, we will never rush about and park hop in scorching temperatures again." And passing out can be a scary occurrence. It's not necessarily an uncommon one, though. Many guests tend to overexert themselves to keep up with the group and get their money's worth worth out of their Disney tickets, despite the blistering Orlando sun fighting against them the whole time, and definitely dehydration. A lot of people don't even know what it feels like to be dehydrated. But I've said it before and I'll say it again, listen to your body. If you don't feel well, there may be something up. So stop for snacks and shade and sunscreen, anything to keep yourself safe and healthy and not downright miserable, because believe me, if you start to get very dehydrated, that will ruin the rest of your vacation. You will basically have a headache for the next 3 or 4 days. You'll be tired, you'll be cranky, you won't feel well. It doesn't just go right away once you drink a glass of water. It can affect you for a while. So if you're starting to feel woozy, take a seat, even if you are standing around waiting for the fireworks to begin. Let one of your group members know what's up, if able, so they can track down a nearby cast member for assistance. Now next, we've got some dental repairs we need to talk about. You might have remembered to pack your toothbrush, your toothpaste, and floss before your big Disney World vacation, but that doesn't mean you're always going to feel prepared when it comes to a toothy crisis. Stephanie M. said, "We had to have our son lay down on a bench because the wire on his braces popped out into his cheek. But because it wasn't going back in, we had to end up taking it out, and the looks we were getting. Braces in Disney World can be rough, especially when there are so many fun snacks to try. But just because you're on vacation doesn't mean your orthodontist wise words of wisdom get pushed to the back burner too. Those Disney caramel apples, skip them. Popcorn, pass. And those sticky taffies, not this time. But there are plenty of tasty and soft alternatives for you to choose from instead. Instead of loaded nachos, try loaded tachos, like the ones you'll find over at Woody's Lunchbox at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And instead of caramel apples or thick Rice Krispie treats, for something sweet to eat, there are plenty of ice cream and Dole Whip locations to choose from, with a huge variety of flavors at the parks, the water parks, and Disney Springs Shopping District. For every concerning treat that might wind up doing some wear and tear on the metal in your mouth, there's another soft and tasty alternative to replace it with. And if you want to learn even more about all the Disney snacks, like what types of snacks are available in each park and where you can purchase them, what our overall review of them is too, we've got a whole selection of Disney snack guides available at dfbstore.com. You can order the individual guides for your specific parks, or you can download the whole 4-park bundle. Either way, you can type in the code YouTube before you check out to save money on your overall purchase. But the dental catastrophes don't stop there. Jen M. said, "My daughter broke her tooth on the People Mover rail. Still don't know how. It was her front tooth and it was pretty bad and sharp. My daughter was crying, saying the princesses wouldn't think she was pretty anymore." A cast member from Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique helped turn her mood around by sprinkling her with pixie dust and giving her a magical moment, which gave her a chance to meet several princesses at once. They all stated what a beautiful smile she had. Have I mentioned how cast members and characters are the heart and soul of Disney? Because I mean it. These folks have such creative ways of helping turn a bad situation into something magically memorable. Now, Georgia T. mentioned, as someone who lost a crown at Disney World, the best thing I found was that Orlando has 24/7 dental offices. I had to have the tooth pulled at 10:30 p.m. because I was afraid I was going to swallow it in my sleep. But that's really good to know. If you're having dental concerns on Disney World property, research 24/7 dental offices close to the area that can make you an appointment ASAP. The last thing you want to do is put off any of these issues until after your trip, which could cause major toothaches or further damage as you're munching around the parks. You can escape the Disney bubble for a bit by taking an Uber to the site or driving there yourself if you brought your own vehicle. Okay, some more shocking things you've done in Disney World or that have been done to you in Disney World. You know those weird nightmares where you're standing in a public place in your underwear, just your underwear? It's always a relief to jolt back into consciousness and take a deep breath and say, "Oh, it was just a dream." Yeah, but what if it wasn't? Well, Ronnie D told us about a time when they wound up in a rather interesting situation. "I got locked out of my Disney hotel room with just my underwear on," they say, "and I'd left my magic band in the room too." It was quite the scene. But what's wild about this whole story is that Ronnie's not the only one who's experienced this. Susan G mentioned that their sister managed to do the very same thing on a Disney cruise before, and Laura J added their story to the mix too. "I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom and inadvertently left the hotel room. The slam of the door woke me completely, and here I am in the hotel hall in my underwear, trying to knock on the door just loud enough for my husband to hear and let me back in." You know how we often talk about the pros and cons of purchasing a magic band? Well, here's one of the major pros. I have been in many situations, not necessarily, stuck outside my room in my underwear, but definitely have left my room without a room key or without my wallet or without various other things that I needed to get back in. Or maybe I just stepped out of the room for a second to put a food tray outside, and then all of a sudden the door is closed. Thank goodness I have my magic band on. Now, of course, I don't sleep with my magic band on, so if this was my situation in the middle of the night trying to get to the restroom and leaving the room instead, that wouldn't have really helped. But me having a magic band on with my room key on it has definitely been a lifesaver for me a million times. And unlike physical key cards or Magic Mobile on your phone, Magic Bands don't have to just be kept in a backpack or purse or pants pocket. You just wear that thing. So if you forget your phone or if you forget your wallet, like I said, you still have your Magic Band on. You can still get back in your room. So if you're someone who finds that you maybe do some absent-minded things from time to time like I do, maybe an investment in a Magic Band is a good idea. Okay, one more D-Pants story for you before the next point because these crack me up. This has nothing to do with the being locked out of your hotel room, but I still wanted to include it nonetheless. Debbie S. said, having done quite a bit of shopping at Disney Springs, I felt like Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman as I was walking over to my resort's bus station. But when I realized the bus was about to leave, I started running and my trousers fell down to my ankles. The bus driver and most of the passengers saw it happen, and to make matters worse, I fell getting on the bus. My eldest daughter reminds me of this situation every time we go back to Disney. And this is really funny and really tragic, Debbie. So we're very, very sorry, but also very happy that this happened to you because it's hilarious. So foiled once again by running to get where you need to go. Sometimes it's better to be safe than speedy, even if you do have to wait a bit longer for another bus to show up. Now, of course, celebrities go to Disney World. They need vacations too. One of the most popular points that you brought up over and over again were all the different musical artists, movie stars, and TV personalities you wound up bumping into while you were on vacation. Shannon T said, I met Tina Fey in the bathroom. I didn't even realize it was her until she walked away. Then I was like, what just happened? Donna M. told us, I sat at the bar in the old Fulton's Crab House, now Paddlefish at Disney Springs, and talked to Ziggy Marley for an hour while waiting for our tables. And Christine O. added, I saw Neil Patrick Harris outside the Seas with Nemo and friends. We were seeing him that night as the host of the Candlelight Processional, but I didn't recognize him out of his suit and walking around with his family. If you want to increase your chances of you spotting one of your favorite celebrities the next time you're in Disney World, Epcot's not a bad place to start, especially if you're visiting during a festival. Concert series are all the rage over at the America Gardens Theater and the American Adventure Pavilion. You've got Disney on Broadway during Festival of the Arts, which invites past and present Broadway performers to sing their favorite musical numbers throughout January and February. You've also got the Garden Rocks concert series that happens during Flower and Garden Festival, featuring popular music acts that cover a variety of decades. You might see Rick Springfield, Starship, Plain White T's. And during the Eat to the Beat concert series during Food and Wine Festival, you get to listen to even more popular artists covering genres from pop to country to R&B. And then, as Christine O mentioned earlier, you've got the Candlelight Processional during Festival of the Holidays, which always features celebrity narrators to help tell the Christmas story alongside a full choir and orchestra. Along with Neil Patrick Harris, past narrators have included Jodie Benson from Full House and Pat Sajak, the host of Wheel of Fortune. Okay, I hear wedding bells, or maybe those are just the wind chimes from my front porch because it is a little breezy today. Disney World is a popular place for engagements, though, and weddings and honeymoons. But the way you celebrate those special lovey-dovey milestones in the parks could be way different than the way someone else decides to celebrate. Rachel C. told us about one of the most magical moments of their wedding rendezvous. She says, back in the day, my partner and I had our bridal portraits taken before the park opened at Magic Kingdom. Disney was able to turn on the castle lights for us so that our pictures turned out stunning. Getting married at Disney World is a costly endeavor, but it's definitely a possible one, if that's your dream come true. Weddings can take place at the Disney Official Wedding Pavilion in Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, or at lots of other locations that you and your partner might resonate with even more, like the Casitas Courtyard in Disney's Coronado Springs Resort, the Italy Isola and Epcot's Italy Pavilion, and even smack dab in the middle of Pandora, World of Avatar, and Disney's Animal Kingdom. Too bad you can't fly off on a real-life Banshee after. For more venues and ceremony details and price points, because they are high, you can check out DisneyWeddings.com. Now, if you want a private photography session in the parks, you don't have to be getting married or engaged to do it, although it might make your special day all the more special. Disney offers Capture Your Moment photography sessions at all 4 parks right now, and those give you a personalized 20-minute photo session with a professional Disney photographer to capture your special day. If you're looking for a longer session, you can book 2 back-to-back reservations for $79 per session. You can call to make advance reservations now at 407-939-7758. But like I said, everyone celebrates their best day ever differently. Brittany C. said, my partner and I walked around Disney Springs after getting married. For dinner, I ate at T-Rex in my wedding dress. And by the way, Brittany Bria says this is absolutely her aesthetic. But if you want to learn about all the other Disney Springs restaurants you might want to eat at after you tie the knot, then check out our Ultimate Disney Springs ranking video on our channel to learn about the pros and cons of every restaurant in the shopping district, because you got to keep those wedding celebration vibes going. And for even more detailed restaurant reviews for every single Disney Disney World restaurant out there, you can order the DFB Guide to Walt Disney World Dining 2022 at dfbstore.com. And as an added thank you so much for being here, I've got a discount code you can apply to your purchase. Just type the word YouTube before you check out for some extra savings. So that's a roller coaster of stories, and we loved reading all of your shocking stories out of Disney World. We laughed and we cried and we fell down a few times, but we're okay now. The DFB team and I ask questions like this all the time on our social media pages so that we can share them with you. So if you want to participate in the fun next time with a super spectacular story of your own, make sure to follow our Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and be on the lookout for any more storytelling prompts. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.